One, let's move into our hearts as we move into that space within the center and core of our very being. We feel spirit move. We feel that light and that powerful presence that is God. Call it spirit, call it divine intelligence, call it love. And as we breathe in that energy. And that energy fills our being, it surrounds us, it holds us, and it guides us through this life, this earthly walk. And I'm knowing that wherever we are on holy ground, that whatever home we are in, whatever room we are in, that we are on holy ground. That divine essence of spirit moves, surrounds, and protects and guides each one of us through this life. And I'm knowing that that energy moves through this service today in such a powerful way, moving through Reverend Barb as she shares her wisdom with all of us. I'm knowing that it inspires and uplifts each one of us this morning, that we receive exactly what we need as we are moving along our spiritual journey. I'm knowing that it is perfect. I'm knowing that that light of God is right there. No matter what challenge we are experiencing, no matter what we are facing in our life, that presence of God is there, whispering in our ear, you can make it. Surrounding us, guiding us, directing us. That loving presence is always there, wrapping its loving arms around each of us, individually and collectively, as one heart tribe, as one spiritual family. And so with that, we give thanks. We are filled with gratitude for this truth, knowing that we are all well, that we are guided, that we are surrounded in this light and this love. And so we let this go. We hand it over to the law that always says yes. And with gratitude in our hearts, full with thanksgiving, we let it go, we allow it to be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and this is Jimmy. We are from a band called Blue Lady, and this is our original song called Path Unfold. It is about embracing uncertainty and embracing new paths that we're presented with in life. Okay. Relationships
Just realized I was muted. It's the phrase that pays for 2020. You're muted. So let's do that thing that we do. And let me just ask you to touch your heart if you're comfortable with that. And take some deep breaths. Take those big 3 deep breaths and say with me, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. So I hope you all had a beautiful Thanksgiving in whatever way that you chose to spend it this year. I think we humans are really amazing, aren't we? Like, no matter what the circumstances are around us, there's something resilient within us that seeks joy and connection and usually finds ways to find it. Now, I know as we move into this season that I like to call Christmas Hanukkah, the continued care for one another will sustain and bless us this year in unexpected and beautiful ways. And just to keep up tradition, I must let you know that there are 26 days until Christmas. So I'm really grateful to be here with you today, this weekend after Thanksgiving. I've been called upon to speak about actually one of my favorite things, which is grateful receiving. And I cannot talk about grateful receiving without also talking about one of my other favorite things, which is giving and being in the flow of life, because it is all about a flow that keeps everything moving, often in really surprising and amazing ways. Now, we've had a couple of experiences in our lives lately that really landed this in a whole new level of understanding about how participating in this interconnectivity of life works when we're not blocking our own flow. I keep getting this visual. This is going to look ridiculous probably, but I'm going to do it anyway. I keep getting this visual of like this back and forthness like this. There's probably some Tai Chi Chuan move that I should learn that represents this flow. But so today I have a story to kind of illustrate this as something that's been happening around here in our home. And you know, I love a good question. And so this whole unfolding has brought up a couple of good questions for me to look at other places in my life where the same things might apply. And hopefully that will translate into the same question working for you and looking at things that apply in your life. So many of you know that that we moved last year so that Reverend Jen's mom could come and live with us. And the house we purchased had not really been maintained for like the last 10 years. It's a long story that I won't get into, but it needed all sorts of fun things like carpet and paint and sprinklers and windows. Those are our windows were from the early 80s, and they had some kind of weird film in them that was dark and kind of wavy, and you couldn't see really well out them, and you couldn't see really well in them with any clarity. And so windows were on the list. And I don't know if you've ever had to replace windows, but windows are kind of a high ticket item. And then shades for the windows. But you don't want to replace the shades before you replace the windows because the sizing changes. So we have this big front picture window in our house. And it had those really heavy wood blinds with like the 2-inch slats and strings hanging everywhere. You can't even donate those blinds anymore because strings aren't safe. So it's got all these strings and they're really heavy. And in fact, they were too heavy to really pull them all the way up. So what do you do with those kind of shades? You pull the string that opens them, the slats, in the morning, and then at night you pull the string that closes them, and then in the morning you pull the string to open the slats. And you just do that. You don't really think about it. But the view that you get is kind of, depending on how tall you are, between 1 or 2 of the slats. And then you just think, okay, well, that's enough light. And you go on with your day. Now, so that's the first question. Is there anything in your life like that that's sort of on autopilot where you're letting in like enough light to get by, but you're not really receiving the full impact or view of the sun? What could be a limiting habit that you have that you're not even thinking about? So anyway, a few months ago, we decided we better see what we're going to be dealing with on the window thing and get some bids so that we could figure out the financing to pay for them and maybe get them before winter, all that sort of thing. And the first guy that comes to look at them says, hey, it seems like you got a new roof when it hailed last year, and they should have looked at your windows because your windows have an enormous amount of hail damage. And in a series of events that has us saying continually, this is why we tithe, within 3 weeks, our insurance company was waiting for us to finish getting bids so they could send us a check to pay for the windows. Now, I want to be clear before I continue the story. We don't tithe to get anything. We tithe to remain in a posture of gratitude that has us in the ever-abundant flow and connection with Source that keeps us in appreciation and gratitude for the connection and flow in our life, which generally means there's an ease to some things. Our tithe is our gratitude to the universe of good. As Jeff at Commune wrote actually today, gratitude is not simply a state of thankfulness. Gratitude is most truly expressed by the works and actions in which one engages that recognize the miracle of life's gifts. Gratitude is most truly expressed by the works and actions in which one engages that recognize the miracle of life's gifts. So back to the shades. Ordering new windows, it turns out, is one thing. Getting them is another 3 or 4 months. So last week, right before Thanksgiving, they're coming to install the windows. And that means taking down all the shades and moving all the furniture and undoing all the stuff. So we take down all the shades. And then it means watching a bunch of people literally saw and rip your old windows out. And you get to sit there and wonder why you didn't do this part before you painted the outside of your house. But at one point, I remember walking through the living room when there was this giant hole in the wall and thinking, that window is bigger than I thought, because the shades had never been open. So the next morning, I'm sitting in the living room having some coffee, and there are these bright, clear windows without any shades on them. And I'm calling Reverend Jen over because I realized that we have this incredible view of the mountain range, kind of over the top of the house across the street in some odd feat of physics. And we can see the lake, which we thought we couldn't see anymore. And it's right there. Over and over and over again. Last week, we sat in the living room in the morning and the evening and have been completely blown away by this clear, expansive, amazing view. And I have to keep laughing at it all a bit because here's the thing. The clear, expansive, amazing view was there the whole time. We finally moved our old, heavy, worn-out shades out of the way. Which leads me to the question, what places in our lives are we blocking light or love or abundance, which is always right there and available to us and with us? Where might we be leaving the shades only half open? Where have we turned our back to the sun and convinced ourselves that the shadow that we have created is our entire life experience? And I thought, well, this is a back to basics moment, really, isn't it? Pay attention to what you pay attention to. Pay attention to what you pay attention to. Pay attention to the places where you find yourselves moving with ease, and be grateful and more grateful for the places of ease. And then pay attention to the places where you are feeling constricted or fearful or worried, and respond with the opposite. Make a motion towards the universe with your faith right in front of you. You're feeling stressed about time, then take a break. Feeling constricted about money, then how is your tithing and giving practice? Feeling like you aren't worthy? Do one thing every day that celebrates who you are as a divine expression of the universe. The universe is such a giving place, and it's always right there, like the view when you move the shades. It's already there. In the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, Deepak Chopra writes, the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of the energy in the universe. And in our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. I'll read that one again. In our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. Now I can kind of hear some of you saying, but COVID, but the election, but politics, but this year has been hard. And yes, that's true for many people. It's been hard. And for many of us, it's been just a giant inconvenience. But I would say this about it all. Either these teachings and principles work or they don't. And if they don't, we should move on to something else. Because they do. When we stop using them because it's harder, we simply turn our back on the things that have always lifted us, which is to turn our back on spirit itself and its ever-present reality in our life. Then instead of being in that dance with the universe, we're sort of rooted in one spot, standing on our own hose. We're keeping our own shades only half open. Spirit cannot work through us without our permission and participation. The view or any other thing is always awaiting our awareness of it. It is our awareness of it that activates it in our life. So, kind of a final thought. Something I've said a lot of times in the last few years since it sort of sunk in for me. The abundant universe is always there, and it always requires our action first. And it works like this. It's pretty simple, really. It might be harder to execute, but really not hard to execute once we just do it, because we have this faith, this practice, and this knowing that we are supported and supplied whenever we step out. So love with abandon and without fear first, and then you will experience love with abandon and without fear. You will never have enough money to share unless you just share it. Your time will become free to give when you find a way to give it, and then you will have plenty of time to give. It will always seem like enough. The only time it doesn't feel like enough is when we are holding it back and keeping it within and wrapping our arms around it so tight that we can't even breathe. The key to a life of receptivity is to say yes and to begin to live a life where we have positioned ourselves in a stance of giving and receptivity. Someone, I don't know who wrote this, Anonymous is a smart person, said, we live in an abundant universe, experienced through philanthropy of the soul. The natural flow of good fortune will course through your life if you cease worrying about receiving your share and grow generous in heart and mind. So what I want to say is just throw open the shades, my friends. Throw them open. The view is waiting for you. And maybe instead of calling this COVID time hard, we could use this time in this season to grow even more generous in our hearts and in our minds. We could grow more love with abandon in this time. Why not? And if you are struggling, let someone else love with abandon. There is a whole team of people here ready and willing to listen and pray and be with you. And it is their way of expressing their gratitude in the world for what they have and what they are doing in the world. You are loved and you are not alone. And then this week, in another piece of just amazingness in life, Brooke shared this poem that she wrote in our Thanksgiving gratitude service. And as our prayer today I've asked her to read this again, and I'm really, it blew me apart, and I'm so grateful she was brave enough to share it.
Hello, good morning. Excuse me. Gratitude is the ancient cellular awareness that you are not alone, that you are held in the arms of grace from your first sweet breath in this earthly body. Gratitude opens the heart to love, opens the mind to faith, opens consciousness to the very cosmos that guide the oceans, opens the gates of heaven made manifest on this plane of existence. It is enough to whisper thank you every day with every breath, every footstep, every endeavor. The very act of intentional appreciation is aligning the planets and the ancestors and the illumination on your passage to awareness and enlightenment. Praise the path, praise the body, praise the breath, praise the heart for its resilience in this seemingly heartless drudgery. Thank the trials and the tribulations and the storms that clear the way for your divinity to peek through. Shout your gratitude at the moon and be free. Shout your gratitude at the darkness and be healed. For you are a child of moons and stars and suns, and your every breath is a silent call of thankfulness. The entire universe shouts its praise for your existence.
And so it is, beloveds. That is enough and beautiful. And thank you for being here today with me and us. And